Why, hello there, Trailblazers fans. Chris Burkhardt here with you. And, that was, it was a game, wasn't it? It was unfortunate as the Blazers just couldn't hold on and get the job done. They fall to the Miami Heat 119-98. It wasn't without its plus sides and its goods, right? There was plenty of good as the Blazers did get good games from Anthony Simons, and Donovan Clingan was out there in the starting lineup. That was nice to see, but at the end of the day, again, the Blazers took the L, and that is just rough business here in Portland. But you know what? If you are on Team Tank, it wasn't rough at all. That's exactly what you want. That's pretty nice. All right, if you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is one way to do it. Of course, you can go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and you can get in on the conversation there as well. And it wouldn't be a fifth quarter without me telling you can reach me over at Chris J. Burkhardt on all of your social networks. Let's take a look at what happened tonight in this one. We'll start on the visiting side of things. Haywood Highsmith had 14 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists for the Miami Heat. Jaime Jaquez Jr. had 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. Bam Adebayo, 13 points, 11 boards. Tyler Hero, 32 points on 11 of 22 shooting. He hit 7 3-pointers. He continues to have a very, very good season. And Terry Rozier, Scary Terry, had 11 points as well. Nikola Jovic off the bench. He had 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. And again, if you're a friend of the show, you've been watching many years, you know that I was a fan of his going into the draft. So it's good to see him have a good game, even though it did hurt the Blazers. Also, shout out to Travi on the YouTube chat. Says, shout out to the awesome shirt. Thank you. Thank you. I had to bring the Hawaiian pride today since it was Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Night here at Moda Center. And so, I had to show some love and some aloha to my island ties, baby. It was an important night. It was fun. So I had to dress the part. That's what I had to do. On the Blazers side of things, Denny Avdia, he had 16 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 points, and 10 rebounds from Tumani Kamara, 8 points and 10 rebounds from Donovan Clingan, who got the start tonight, 27 minutes in this one. Again, DeAndre Ayton wasn't playing. And Robert Williams out as well. Shaedon Sharpe, 22 points. And we'll talk about him throughout this one. You'll hear our coach talk about him as well. Made some defensive head scratchers that hopefully can be fixed in the long run. Anthony Simons, he had 28 points, 3 assists, 4 boards. Went on an absolute heater in the third quarter where he couldn't be stopped. Ended with what I believe was 17 points. Pretty good heater from him. Always nice to see. Scoot Henderson off the bench. 3 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and a single turnover. Wasn't looking to be too aggressive. Wasn't making great plays, but wasn't making bad plays, which is pretty much what you want. And then another good game from Chris Murray. Again, if you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. Shacker will do his best to pick it up while he's over there cleaning house before I think, what do we got tomorrow? Justin Timberlake? He's got to get out of the way for Justin Timberlake. Can't stop the feeling. And, of course, you can go over to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and get in on the chat there. And today, the man, the myth, the legend, B_slot, he finally followed through. I was like, hey, dude, the visiting team's always looking for a stat guy, and he finally showed up. He finally did it, and so he's coming in. And I said, "Hey, come join me, because here you don't get to join me as the producer. You could just be full-on co-host of the fifth quarter with me. I can't shut you up. If you dance like that, the camera's off, and you're never allowed back. You need to know your role, okay? That's absolutely ridiculous. But what'd you take away from this game, Brendan?
Yeah, it was quite the game, and a game where I thought Portland never really quit. It just seemed like Miami always had a run, Chris, in this game. And you got to credit Tyler Hero. He made some big time shots, and watching Tyler Hero, I mean, we're familiar with him, Chris. And the connection and all that. So I was like, I'm going to sit here and watch his defense tonight. And, he's a better defender than he gets credit for. And this Miami team played really well without Jimmy Butler. They get Jimmy Butler back. I could see this team, Nikola Jovic is kind of coming into that player, that stretch.
He's good.
That he is. I've always really liked Jaime Jaquez and what he brought from UCLA. So, from that perspective, they played a great game. Portland was right there a couple times. Anthony Simons on fuego today, but just couldn't get enough over the top. You know?
Absolutely couldn't. And shout out to Air Weldon in the chat. He says, "Oh my gosh, finally a face to the voice." A face to the voice.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh, he's trying to channel me way too much. Okay, he's got the beard going. He's got the ponytail going. He's trying. Before you know, he's gonna show up inked. Okay, it's absolutely.
You don't know.
And Air Weldon, he picked on us for a while, Brendan, because up here, this is not a very well lit area. Funny enough, Bruce Ely was up here earlier, photographer for the Trailblazers, and he's like, "This arena is so poorly lit for photography," and it's like, "This is what we look like when we have no lighting."
It's pretty dark.
But thanks to Air Weldon, who has called us out on more than one occasion, I brought the light kit today.
There you go.
And I had to do some finagling, and now I know how to get it set up perfectly for us. So again, this is why I just need my full-time producer eventually, because it's a lot to do the lights and the YouTube and the radio. I guess that's why they call us like multimedia producers nowadays.
Well, Chris, I'm also loving your shirt, man. You were telling me when we were working earlier in the week, I forget what game that is. They all kind of blend together.
They do.
And you're like, man, I'm really hyped for the Islander night, tonight. And then I remember I ran into Shacker, and he's like, Chris has got a shirt on. He's playing the music. I'm like, okay, I got to go up and see what's up. So was it a fun night from that perspective?
Hey, it was fun. We got to do a good interview with the Kalal HCC,
cool.
Calo HCC that was here. They were the main presenter, if you were. So a bunch of the proceeds from the tickets went to that organization, and the 50-50 raffle, the proceeds went to that organization, and they help native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders around the region. So we got to do an interview with them, which was really fun and really cool, and a way to give back to the community. And as you know, because you get to cover Oregon State football and other sports down there, but mainly football, that through college football, and not just because of it, but you get to see it. There's a pretty good Pacific Islander community here on the West Coast, all the way through. So it's cool to get a chance to give back. So I was hyped, man, and I had this conversation earlier. It's why representation matters, and because like growing up, like if I saw The Rock, I loved The Rock because I knew he was from Hawaii, right?
Sure,
like
sure.
that got me hyped. And you know, my grandpa's from the Philippines, right? And so it's like, okay, well, Jordan Clarkson, he's Filipino, so you see that you connect with those things, and it's really cool. So yeah, it was great. It was a great event. I got to get a new Hawaiian shirt just for the occasion.
Looks clutch. I like it.
The only bad part about the event is I had to come with the sad realization of who I am now as I approach 40. I'll be 38 this year, and that was the fact that I had to buy a new Hawaiian shirt for the event because the other Hawaiian shirts that I do own didn't fit. I would have looked like Gus, in Cinderella, the mouse who's busting out his shirt. Oh yeah, I had to make sure I was ready to go. But no, it was a good night, and the shirt's definitely going to become part of the rotation. Got good compliments on it as well. Let's take a look at the chat though here, Brendan. I know Kirk, he's getting irritated at the team trying to win versus building up their young players. I can totally understand where he's at because I want to see Scoot out there for longer durations as well, making the mistakes. Timmy's angry because he says, Timmy angry. Let's see, 0 time to get a beverage, but the game was brutal. Now I know how Kevin Owens felt after Cody Rhodes threw him through the table last night. Also, massive shout out to Timmy Hammock. He went to wrestling yesterday, and he came through. Oh, the battery died on the light. Now we're screwed. But he bought me the Yeet shirt.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeet.
Yeah.
We're gonna yeet for the Usos over here and have some fun. So, shout out, man.
Cool.
How cool is that? Cool is that? You all take care of Burkhardt, and Burkhardt will take care of you. Okay, like we'll get through this together. All right, but no, Brendan, are you going to get into more games? You going to start doing some stats for the away team a little more often, try to get here more?
Yeah, it just kind of depends on how, like tonight it worked out well, right? Obviously, it depends on my schedule and whatnot, but I had fun. It was the first time in a couple years I've gotten back and done this, stats as well, and as you know, it's like we're one way or another, Chris. I'm always thinking or doing Blazers on Blazer game night, so
true.
Wasn't working with you at the radio tonight, but I was like, oh yeah, I'll come through. And Chris sent me a text, folks, earlier, and he probably knew. He's even added an LOL. He said, want to join me for the 5th quarter? LOL.
I knew you'd do it. You always want to get on the mic, so here's a chance. Come do it, my friend.
And I was like, we'll see how the night goes. I'm like, it's a little later, a little further than I'm used to be. Tiger back to Sherwood, a little quicker than Mona back to Sherwood. But jokes aside, happy to be up here with you, man. And first time I've been up here.
It still might be a quicker drive to Sherwood. Well, no, it is. I'd say I got to get out to Happy Valley.
It's true, yes.
Sadly enough, the drive to Happy Valley from here is quicker than the drive from the studio. But Chris comes in. Every once in a while, we get guys who just get perfect comments for the chat, and they have to go into the chat Hall of Fame. Chris gets to go to the chat Hall of Fame here for, he says, 1 man bun, 1 ponytail, a floral Hawaiian shirt, another, and a snappy sports jacket. This is definitely a Miami Vice rerun.
You know it. That makes me so happy to hear, Chris. Like, honestly, I appreciate looking fly, and Chris, like I said, he may have been some inspiration for the ponytail man bun, but not entirely.
I definitely wasn't. I'll tell you that. But yeah, you might as well just start calling me Tommy Vercetti for all you GTA fans out there. But we're having fun. We still got plenty to get to though, and Shacker, don't you worry. I'm gonna control our outro music again because that was fun last time. Yeah, there we go. Hawaiian vibe it up, baby. Little Iz. I asked Shacker, I was like, hey, will you play some Iz? He's like, who's that? What, you don't know Iz? Somewhere Over the Rainbow? Come on. Dude was a legend. All right, it was Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Night. You guys know I love that. The Blazers fall to the Miami Heat 119-98. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we still got our shots of the night, drive of the night, coach's corner. Plenty to get to. Brendan will stay here as long as his young eyes can keep him up. He might leave during the break. I don't even know. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. All right, here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Giving YouTube the music love. Don't you guys love it? I'm talking to you too, Shacker. To the fifth quarter, Chris Burkhardt here with you. Brendan Slaughter joining me tonight. He's like a leech, a wart you just can't get to go away. Just keeps coming back.
Yeah, just, always here, Chris. I feel like nowadays, I feel like we're like simpatico. I'm basically, can you just adopt me into the Burkhardt family at this point?
Might as well.
I mean, I love it.
Might as well. It's funny, though. I say that, of course, jokingly and lovingly, because I had a friend of the show, Peyton Davis, on a while back, had him come in and host with me. And he's like, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm probably bothering you. I'm like, here's the thing. And you know this all too well because you did the same thing. You had to grind to get in. It's like, the best way to get opportunities is to be a pest. Like you got to hammer. Like, can I do it? Can I do it? You got to text, call, whatever you got to do. And you know what? You'll get in. It's absolutely.
It's so true, Chris. And one of my, it's been said by many athletes over the years, and it's one of my favorite sayings because I think it applies to many aspects of real life. Closed mouths don't get fed.
Yes, that's yeah, man. It's the. Between you and Justin, you got some sayings around here. I'll throw some analogies and sayings around every once in a while for my wife. She'll be like, "What'd you just say?" I remember years and years ago, I dropped a you took a page out of my book, and she's like, "What book?"
That's
I'm
hilarious.
like, "You took a page out of my book." She's like, "What are you talking about?"
Hilarious.
I'm like, hey, come on, get with me here.
Yeah.
If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also go over to YouTube.com, type in Rip City Radio, where you can get in on the chat, where everyone's having some fun with us. Air Weldon laughed because I said I was putting off Tommy Vercetti vibes, and that made him laugh. So I said I'm going to go play GTA out of respect, and he wants me to go play by the rules of law, though. You imagine playing GTA? You have to stop at every red light.
Oh.
You got to. Oh my gosh.
That's almost just that's like homework. Like that is like we're like having to do all of a sudden that takes the fun out of GTA. So then you have to be a law-abiding citizen.
Right.
Can you just you have to pick a fight with your fists?
Have you ever watched a stream of GTA roleplay?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It is hilarious.
Yes.
It
yes.
is so
yeah.
it is funny. There are some content out there, absolutely. Elijah is preaching to the YouTube gods. He wants me to be the owner of the Trailblazers. I said I'll break open my piggy bank when I get home, see if I can muster up enough quarters to hit that probably $4 billion asset.
Yeah,
price.
I mean, or Chris, since you and I are doing so well off, I mean, we could just blow them away. Like, you know how Steve Ballmer paid $2 billion for the Clippers? Everyone's like, oh, it's so overpriced. Maybe you and I just come in at a cool $5 billion.
Yeah,
we can work on that, and yeah. I think that'd be pretty hard to tell us no.
Yeah, can we start we can start the Damn Duck Collective.
Absolutely.
That will help us get some money.
Yep. And we'll just we'll get the GoFundMe going too. Yeah, lots of pennies needed for that.
Timmy
one,
said
folks.
I should become a video game streamer and just be a good guy GTA and play. Just go online. Be like, I'm just here. I'm just trying to go buy milk, guys. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Timmy. It's been a very long time since I've done it. It was mostly during COVID, and then life got busy. But I do have a Twitch account. I would stream DBD for a while. I haven't streamed a long time, but I want to get back to it just so you guys can all come chat with me.
I'm surprised, Chris.
Captain Chaos F5.
Yeah, just knowing what I know about you, I'm surprised you haven't twitched NC25 yet. That's kind of surprising.
I could have, but the only thing is by the time I get home, my NCAA playing time is like 11 o'clock at night.
I feel that.
I would say not a big Twitch crowd, but I got these guys who are fifth quarter degenerates.
Absolutely.
Like Air Weldon and Timmy and Elijah who tune in and no matter what time it is. So you know what? Maybe I do have a market. Maybe I need to start streaming. Yeah. GTA, good guy GTA coming your way, courtesy of Rip City Radio. Now back to basketball though. Donovan Clingan was at the podium after Chauncey, and I did ask him, how nice it was to get out there and not play 8 minutes. And it was funny because all I said was not play 8 minutes, and he grinned. Now he said the right stuff to not run, but he grinned. I was like, you didn't play 8 minutes, didn't play 12 minutes, you played darn near 30 minutes. Like, how'd that feel? And like he did. He talked about how getting up and down, especially early on, knowing you're going to be out there. He's like, it was nice. It was nice to just get out there, get some run, and just know that you're going to be out there all night. And before I get your answer, you got a shout out to Preston Highfield Esquire, Professor Xavier, the 10th or whatever I gave him his name. He's out there in Texas. You guys know him. He was out here for a while. Preston, nice to hear
What's
from
up,
you.
Preston, man?
Nice to
What's
hear
going
from
on,
you.
man?
But what's your take on Klingon and the job he did tonight?
Yeah, I like you said, I'm happy to see him, looking at the box score. I'm happy to see him play 27 minutes. He goes 8 and 10, does attempt only 6 shots, 1 3-pointer didn't make. But there were just moments that I wanted to look for growth for him. And I think there was a sequence where Tyler Hero faked a 3 and was able to get around and then ran into Klingon in the paint, kind of got him off balance and then went around him again, and then Klingon was still able to recover fast enough and still kind of be in his way for that shot. His ability to be a disruptor in the paint, it's not like some guys where, hey, they take they leave their feet, take a big shot, and, they're out of the play for 3 or 4 seconds.
Right.
He's a guy who was right back in the play. That was impressive to me. And not Klingon, but just something I wanted to mention too, Chris. How lucky are the Blazers? One of the moments where I felt the pin drop is when Denny Avdia went to the floor grabbing that calf.
Right.
And I was like, he was right in front of my vision where I was stationed tonight, and I was like, non-contact injury, he goes down. That was huge to see him come back because we've talked about it for weeks. How big has he been to the Blazers? You've said, I believe, he's been maybe their best player recently.
Yeah, I think he actually
huge.
Absolutely has. So, yeah, when he went down and you see him pop back up, that's always good. And Travi makes a good point about Klingon. I wish I would have asked him about it, quite honestly, if he tried to do that, because that's a good point. But he said he had a decent pace for knowing that he'd be out there that long. And if you are going to go out there and play almost 30 minutes when you have only been playing 8 to 12 and people are knocking your cardio, you definitely do have to pace yourself a little bit if you're DC. And the thing is, this is a harder game for that, too, because of Bam Adebayo, who can space the floor, so you can't even sit in the paint and do your thing and take almost a little bit of a break and wait for them to come to you. You have to go out to your the guy you're defending quite a bit. So I thought it was a good challenge for DC, and I thought he played well.
Yeah, and then obviously, there were just more, right? So you got to figure Miami's lineup is pretty big, right? I mean, when you look at how big they went at certain times, where there was Adebayo, Jovic, and Hawkes, who stands at 6'9" on the floor, and there were times when, you could tell they were getting to the Blazers a little bit, causing, some turnovers, whatnot. And, as I said earlier, the Heat just always had an answer, right?
Right.
I think of that big run the Blazers had. I can't remember if it was to open the fourth or open the third quarter, but they ended up getting it real close, and you're like, okay, look. And then the Heat just calmly called timeout, got the ball to Tyler Hero, got the ball to Bam. But going back to what I said earlier, Chris, this Miami Heat team, we all know about Eric Spoelstra, but if Jimmy Butler comes back and is, what's the right word, content? Gruntled, in the words of the office. Everybody here is extremely gruntled. I think this team could make some noise, even in the East.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're a good team. They're still probably some pieces away, and Jimmy Butler, it can be a big reason to their success. It's just Jimmy Butler is. He's a riddle trapped in an enigma.
Yeah.
He's a hard one to get. But
okay.
I do think the Miami Heat have to trade him to wherever he wants to go, regardless of the return package, because a lot of people are watching, and you got to do right by your star.
Do you think he backs that off? Or do you think he's that ship has sailed?
I think
I'm kind of curious to see how it goes.
I think when you get suspended for your conduct that's basically detrimental to the team here, I think the ship has sailed at that point. I think it's real hard.
It's tough because I must say, Chris, a couple years back when the Heat made the finals, I was pulling for him hard, right? And Jimmy Butler, when they were an 8 seed that year, and there's always kind of been something about the Heat that appealed. And personally, being a homegrown Portland guy, always got respect when Spo comes back to the 503, man. And it's only once a year, but it's cool to know that he obviously started here too. And I think there was some good growth from the Blazers tonight, and while it still was an L in the column, some things tonight in the absence of DeAndre Ayton that I thought was solid, and obviously Simons cooked for a brief moment there with 7 3-pointers, so
right.
It was an exciting game despite the loss, Chris.
Yeah,
and you can't go against those.
It absolutely was. Airwell then chimes in. He says, "Riddle trapped in an enigma" is another new phrase. Well, that's shout out to Lisa Simpson. That was the episode where she started she had a crush on Nelson Muntz. He's like a riddle trapped in an enigma. I love it. It's just a good saying, and it also makes me want to watch Batman Forever. Enigma.
Yeah.
The Riddler. Oh man. But Air Weldon also made another good comment in the YouTube chat about Donovan Clingan. Said he's getting back to where he was before he got hurt, and it's funny that you mentioned that, Air Weldon, because that's exactly what he said in the post-game presser, that he feels like he's finally back there and getting better. So that's good. And Elijah chimes in that Jimmy Butler's gone. Jimmy Butler's going to the Bucks. I'm just going to be frank with you. Could it happen? In theory, yes. The Bucks will have to move heaven and earth to get Jimmy Butler because of them being over the second apron, and with the new things in the CBA, they're like literally the only contract that they can trade out to get Jimmy Butler right now is Damian Lillard. And that's not going to happen. They can't combine salaries to get him because they're over the second apron. So like they can't do a Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez. Like the way they would have to do that is they would have to find a trade partner to trade prior to that to get under the second apron, and then still hope that they had the pieces involved that Miami wanted to get Jimmy Butler. So it is a tall task for the Milwaukee Bucks to try to add Jimmy Butler right now.
Just looking at, like Chris said, looking at their salaries, like it's, unless like the only way you could see it where it would be even feasible is like, Brook Lopez makes $23 million on an expiring deal. If you could find somebody to be an essential salary dump, but you can't really do that anymore.
No.
So I mean, and not to mention too. Again, Jimmy Butler, very headstrong person, as we know. There's maybe nobody in the GM chair I respect more in the NBA than Pat Slick Riley. So, that man is not going to be worked over.
No,
so
he
I just
to be.
Yeah.
There are a few of them. It's like him and like Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge is not going to make a trade unless Danny Ainge wins it.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
And so, could it go to the Bucks? Yeah, they're just going to have to move a lot of pieces. And then at that point, how much of your core is gone? Like if you go out there and you move off Middleton and Lopez, and you have to get rid of your bench two guys to get that going. And so you got Dame, Jimmy, Giannis, and nothing else.
It reminds me of the Suns when they a couple years ago, before they eventually traded for I believe it was Nurk, and that hole to give them a little bit more depth, when they had Beal, KD, and drawing a blank on the third, Chris. Their third big three that they had for a minute was Beal, in Phoenix. When it was Beal, KD, and
they got Booker.
And Booker, thank you. And when they had those three guys, but there was nobody else on the roster, and that didn't lead to a championship. So I don't know if you can
Beal, here's the thing. They have Beal now. But I guess they went to the finals. They had the CP 3 years, right? And Booker, and then so it's like you're right. Like, and it's even you're kind of seeing it with Denver right now, because Denver's top heavy and their bench rotation is just not very good. So you got to be careful. And as Travi pointed out, with the new CBA, it's clamping these teams' trades. And we've talked to Sean Hyken, our Trailblazers insider, about it, and you can talk to other people who cover the league. There's a lot of GMs who are still kind of figuring out what to do, because it just you can't just simply do we're going to trade out, we're going to get 125% of that salary back, we're just going to continue to go into the tax, it doesn't matter. Now they're extremely hampering teams from moving those contracts unless they have to do them in a smart way. So it's hard. It's absolutely hard to do. If you want to join in the chat, 503-248-0620 is one way to do it. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, get in on the chat as well. Let's see. Sam says, I think it's rebuild time. Timmy says, Sam, it's been rebuild time for like 4 years.
Yeah, sir.
Hey, Timmy is a pal of mine now. Buys me stuff. Sam's an OG over here. He's awesome. I don't need my friends fighting, okay? No fighting in the YouTube chat. Elijah wants Zion. I want Zion now too, Brendan. You know why? Because he got suspended because he missed a team flight. I need the continuity in my life. I need Zion Williamson in Portland with Robert Williams, and then dub him Time Lord 2.
I'd be there for that.
Like, Time Lord 2, I needed to have.
That would be hilarious.
And then you can make some movie posters like Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
But it's Time Cop with Time Lord Robert Williams, and then Time Lord 2 with Zion. I mean, this needs to happen.
That is so funny.
Timmy says I equal Roman Reigns and you equal a skinny Paul Heyman with hair. Fair enough. Brendan's not a wrestler. He doesn't get that. I get what you're laying down. All right, this is the fifth quarter presented by Coors Light. We got the coach's corner and a game ball, and then we're going to put a bow on this bad boy when we come back. All right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Yeah, that's what I prefer to do. Copy. I'm going to go talk to YouTube. All right, YouTube, how we doing? Han says thumbs up on the music, right? See, we might get the copyright on this video, but you know what? It's Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Night. I'm gonna play the music, baby. I'm gonna play the music. Tell YouTube that for this one night, you just gotta let me have it. All right. Kirk also says that Zion would eat himself out of the league with all Portland's good food. That's a lie. Because if you're in New Orleans and you haven't eaten yourself out of the league yet, you could survive in any food city.
It's true.
Thank Sam, 503-248-0620. Boom, there, it's on the screen. There you go. The food carts around PSC Rock. Sure they do. Food carts and all Portland Rock, dude. Hey, L.E. Raquel. It's good music. Spotify, dude. See, Brandon's feeling the wine.
I am. I mean, you could. Yeah, there's nothing imperfect about Hawaii, Chris. Like music, weather, pretty much everything.
Music's
so just
good.
like,
Music's good. The food's good.
oh yeah, I mean,
Weather's
just
good.
yeah. I mean,
Vibes are good.
like whenever I'm stressed and need to calm down, Chris, I go, I'm floating in the water outside Waikiki. Like it's just. Sammy. Well,
Shacker's struggling to get Sam on the line. that he enjoys me. Whoa, is that a fact, Weldon? Free throw guys in Hawaii now. Gotcha. Free throw guys in Hawaii now. That'd be sweet. Be sweet. He goes out to Waikiki Beach and he watches on Blazer Vision and like you're just watching this guy on the beach and all of a sudden he's like, "What's that guy doing? Hey, honey, stay away, stay away." Free throw guy just doing his thing. Kirk, my question for you is: have you been to New Orleans? Have you been to New Orleans? Because I've been to New Orleans and that food is not overrated. That food is amazing. Been to it is the best food town in the NBA, and I will put fists to face to defend that. It is awesome. Welcome back into the fifth quarter. Time now for the Coach's Corner. Let's head down to the press room, hear what Coach Billups had to say following this loss to the Heat.
Got back in it, do it again. They got back in it again, and you really got to kind of play perfect, which is tough to ask. You know, our margin of error was just so small. But I thought we fought and gave ourselves the best chance.
Chauncey, what's been the difference for Chris the last couple weeks?
More than anything, just the opportunity to play. Even before that, when he would get in for his little spells, he always played well. He really did. He always played well. And, the biggest thing with us this year is we're so much deeper at the spot. Jeremy's out. Guys are out. But Chris, I trust him at all times. When he gets in, he's not mistake prone at all. He's not he just plays right. So the biggest difference always, is just the opportunity to play. But he's very impactful when he gets out there.
Chauncey, how are you approaching turnovers with Shaden and just mistakes in general? Is it something you just think he has to play through and learn to play through them? Or are you coaching him during the game, or is it something you drill and film the next day?
It's different all the time. Shaden is, when you start taking steps and people start really kind of game planning for you and you're seeing different coverages, it takes a while to adjust those coverages, so not being too hard on him, but I'm always telling him, all right, just don't make the same one all the time. We got to start learning from some of these things. It's the ones that I think, the ones that bring me up with Shay sometimes are the ones when he's lazy. It looks like he's just kind of, throwing it, and those ones that'll really bother me, and we talk about those immediately. I don't even let those wait. But when he's trying to make a play for his teammate, and it was just the wrong pass at that time, but it was the right, he was thinking, then we can live with those. But it's the other ones that are just kind of careless, that I always have a problem with.
It seems like he's been being a lot more aggressive lately, which is something you guys have talked about with him all season. What's the next step to maybe getting more consistent efficiency with that aggression?
Well, it's just experience, man. You just got to go through it, You just got to go through it. We got him where we want him. Right now, we want him aggressive. We want him attacking at all times. We're playing through him a lot. We're seeing some of his pick and roll stuff. He started, show that he's a pretty good pick and roll player as well in terms of making the reads and the passes. And now it's, now that you see it, see the right pass, now it's getting it there, or getting it on time and not getting bored with that type of process. But yeah, I love where he's at in terms of his aggressiveness and stuff right now. I thought he was a step slow defensively tonight. Got beat a few times, blown coverages a few times, gave up back doors. So I'm on him about that, more than anything. It wasn't his night defensively, and he's going to be a guy. I got to be able to trust you and depend on you on both sides.
Isn't like when we use their music. They're gonna tag our YouTube video now. I keep asking him to get rid of AC/DC, and he says no because he likes it.
I mean, it is pretty. I mean, let's be real. I mean, a couple times, Chris, you have broken out in laughter when you're like, "Well, we gotta hand out big balls when they're handing out big balls."
Yeah, I find it very, very distracting. See, and he did a good job there. And you've got in the habit too, because I asked you to. You got to stop it soon, because when you're trying to hand out a game ball and all you got is big balls on repeat in your ear, it is very distracting.
It can be. Yeah.
But it is time to hand out a game ball, and you know what? I think the game ball tonight has to go to Anthony Simons. That third quarter outburst got the Blazers a chance to get back in it. Just no matter how hard they tried, they just couldn't get a stop. Miami was a weird team tonight because, I'm watching the game, Brendan, and you're seeing Ant get hot, and you're seeing the Blazers make points. You're like, okay, and then you look up, and you're like, they're still down by 9. And then you watch Ant go off and hit a couple more threes. You feel like you don't watch Miami make one, and then you look up, you're like, oh, They're still down by 8. Like it was a weird game for Miami because they were making buckets and kept the lead up, but it just felt like they were just not there too. Like that was an efficient game, is what I'm saying. Like
right.
I mean, you wasn't flashy.
Like you look at it too. Like they just got like to your point, Chris. They got production from guys that don't normally give it, right? So like Highsmith got double his season points. He also had 5 steals. Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero going to get their points too. But when you get 11 from Rozier, 11 from Hawkes, and then I think I mentioned earlier, Nikola Jovic, 21 off the bench, also adds in 8, 5. I mean, he impressed me tonight. His ability to stretch the floor, he's big. He's definitely grown over the last couple years, and it was interesting to see.
Absolutely. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. Where we're heading out to my man Samuel. He's not Daniel or whatever else Shaq tried to say he was. I heard that whole conversation. Sam, welcome in. How we doing?
Good. How are you, Chris?
Oh, I'm wonderful. What do you got for us tonight?
All right. Well, I wrote in the comments, and it's kind of a dumb thing to say, but I had a meaning behind it. I said it's rebuild time, and someone in the comments was like, it's been rebuild time for like 4 years. I do understand that. I did take that into account. What I mean is 4 years ago, or even 6 years ago after 2019, it was rebuild from that roster, and then 4 years ago it was a different roster. This core that we have, Ayton, Grant, Simons, it's not working, and I think that we need to trade in what's his name, Grant, while he still has good value, and so should we do with Ayton, and build this core around what's his name, Robert Williams III, and then our draft picks that we last few years. I think that's our future right there.
Well, I feel what you're laying down. First off, you're gonna have to forgive my man Timmy Hammock. Okay, it was a heck of a night for him. He was just partying too hard there, sitting way too close to the floor, and you know what? He was. Maybe he needs a Snickers. He just wasn't himself when he's hungry, okay? But, no, you're absolutely right, Sam. I think we've been talking about that here. Everyone else has been talking about it. I think the writing is on the wall for those guys. I think Jeremy Grant is movable. It's just you talk about, you heard about the asking price being high. It's just that might not be feasible given the new CBA, right, Brendan? Like,
right.
That's hard.
I mean, that and again, I know that Blazer, like, don't get me wrong, Jeremy Grant in the aggregate is a talented player, but there will be some teams that take pause with how much money he's making over it's 3 years left on his contract, I believe now, right, Chris? Or is it? Yeah, 3 years left after this year. Yeah. And, that's a significant amount of money because he's obviously making sizable sums. So that's not to say he won't help, and I still think, there's teams out there, i.e. wink, wink, the Los Angeles Lakers, who you throw Jeremy Grant in with that lineup, and, they would probably be better in places I think he would fit. But it's like anything else. You have to get the CBA to work. It takes 2 to tango as far as trade partners and dances go. And, Jeremy Grant is still, one of those guys that Joe Cronin signed. One of those big, he was the guy that stayed after, Dame announced his intent, to go. So I think they're going to do him like justice and send him where he would maybe want to be traded instead of just kind of throwing it out there. But we'll see how all that comes out to be. But I think it's a good point.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes. And then no, go ahead, Sam.
Jeremy Grant, I think he's a very talented player, and he's not like super young nor is he super old. And I think, no offense to him or the Blazers organization, he's kind of wasting his prime on a subpar team where he might not have signed up to be the leader. And I think I don't think he'd go back to his role he had, in OKC or Denver 5-6 years ago. But I think it's better if he's a second or third option, not the first option in which a team has to depend on him. I think he's more of like a Tobias Harris on the Sixers kind of deal. Second, third option that's still viable, borderline all-star.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, I think if you're trading Jeremy Grant to a championship team, he's your fourth option. Like he's not.
Right.
I don't think. And
I think lineup thing. He's definitely a starter.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. Now to the other part of your comment too, Sam. It's the tough part is I think under this CBA and the way the contracts are, I think I think Ayton has become a lot harder to trade than the Blazers thought he was going to be.
Right.
With that big number and who's going to be available for him and who would want him, like that's.
But you kind of
that's
also,
a
Chris,
tough spot.
play the kind of what-if game. Like right now, what if the Pelicans weren't terrible? We talked about how they could have been a trade partner. They were looking for a center, right? Not looking for a center when you have 5 wins on the season, but say they had 15, right. 20. There were only a few teams that kind of. I remember Charlotte being thrown out there for a minute too as a spot for DA. But again, that's still one of those things where it's $35 million, but that's largely the salary you got back in the Dame deal, right?
Yep,
so it's like you traded, Dame's 60 and got back, DeAndre Ayton and kind of, aggregating it into Malcolm Brogdon, Denny Abdi, so on and so forth. So from that perspective, you have, gotten less top heavy, and that was a big concern for Joe Cronin when he came in. Like, who can remember that press conference? He was like, I looked at our cap sheet and saw we were in trouble.
Yeah, and still are.
Right. So that's something that's going to have to be remedied over time.
All right. What else you got, Sam?
Yeah, I think Ayton, he is going to for sure need to spend his prime on a team that really needs him. I feel like Ayton is in the kind of the same situation maybe as Dame was in, where the Blazers kept drafting these young guards, even though he was their center guard and the main guard. Ayton, he should be the main attention for big men, but we just got Robert the third. We have Klingon now. We might go in the draft, hopefully maybe get what's his name, Cooper Flagg is another big man, and Ayton no longer seems like that would be awesome. But I think Ayton's no longer the main focus of the Blazers. I think his time is better spent elsewhere, where the team looks at him as the future of their roster. I think the Pelicans would be a great spot. As you mentioned, the Hornets would be an awesome spot. If I look at the standings for good teams that might need him,
There's a few, but it's just hard.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's just hard to get there with the way the CBA is.
Maybe the interesting team to trade him to, it might be like the Spurs, right? Because Wembanyama is obviously a great big man, but he's not like a natural. He's not like a big strong man, So maybe running like a 2-center, offense, kind of like the Rockets 35 years ago with Hakeem and what's his name, Ralph. Having 2 real big guys, one that can shoot the 3, dribble, and one can set the screens. Run a 2 big man pick and roll or something would be awesome.
Well, absolutely, and appreciate the call as always, Sam. The only tough part with going on a 2-man thing here is you got to worry about the defensive side. So say you're sitting there and you roll Ayton and Klingon out at the same time. Well, now you're 3 city, baby.
Right, and
you saw Klingon even struggle to get out defensively against Bam a few times tonight.
And to that point, I think it's a great point. I love the throwback teams. That Houston Rockets team 30 years ago, it's awesome. But to that point, back then you had power forwards who they were going up against who really couldn't shoot the 3. Yeah. You had maybe a few. You had your Dirk Nowitzkis out there, right? And even he played more of the center. It kind of depended. But, you didn't have fours.
You put some absolute respect on Rasheed Wallace's name right now, you imbecile.
I mean, this is true. This, of course. And but again, you had limited guys who were shooting the 3, compared to now when if you can't shoot the 3 at the 4, you're kind of a liability. Wow. So, definitely NBA cyclical. There'll always be things, I'm sure, that change, but I just don't know if you could go with 2 big men without having one of them be like a, for today's reference, like a Kevin Love type player, where it's like, hey, and even that's not great defensively. So it's tough.
It's funny. Where I gotta find this. There's too many comments in here, but Kirk says, to be fair, Chauncey uses Ayton and Scoot like toilet water.
Wow. Well,
you got to put some respect. No, you got to put some respect on toilet water, Kirk. Without the toilet water, it ain't flushing properly, okay? And now you just got a bigger mess on your hands. If you went number 2 without toilet water, it's game over, okay? So you got to put some respect on the toilet water. It ain't for drinking; it's for working.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's a thought. But yeah, that's just a thought. I don't know how to respond off that.
It's just where we're going, because you know what? It's not the 5th quarter unless you're going off the rails, my man. Going off the rails, it's the only way to do it. Oh my gosh, you guys have been way too much fun. Elijah has all the players that he wants to play here, which is absolutely phenomenal. The only bad part about it is eventually you're just going to run out of names, Elijah. You're just going down the list of like every player in the league, and just like the Blazers do not need Marcus Smart. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
Like if we're trading for a backup guard, that's stupid. Because for as much as pain as people want to put about the whole Scoot experience, I thought Mike Richmond said it quite well on the Locked On podcast about how Scoot's not playing like a starting guard, but he's playing like a very competent backup.
Right.
And so you got a backup on your roster right now. Does it suck that that's what you spent the third pick on? Yeah, but at the same time, he's doing what he's supposed to do.
It's true. I mean, in hindsight, sure, you probably would have liked to have had Charlotte take Scoot and had Brandon Miller fall into your hands. But outside of that, Chris, like go back to that draft. I know one of the Thompson brothers has been more consistent than the other, and those were the next two picks. But if you look at it, it's not like you look at Scoot and go, oh my gosh, they missed on a can't-miss all-star 2 picks later, you know.
Far.
So, I mean, right, so far, that's true. There's plenty of time. But that's one thing where, like, you know, that sometimes doesn't take but a year or two for teams to go, oh. And
I'll tell you this much. Elijah's sitting there and saying 3-and-D players, and I'd almost disagree a little bit that 3-and-D is not necessarily what this team needs to focus on. I think they need to focus on, once they get the coach and everything gets implemented, they need shooters because I think they got the 3-and-D thing. That has been a major missing part for so many years, right?
Many
Because when you had CJ and you had Dame and you had your scores, it was, we need the 3-and-D guy. I watch this roster. I even watched this game tonight, and I salivate a little bit because I'm like, oh, my gosh. If Shea figures it out and they figure out what they want to do with that point guard position, and Jeremy Grant and the center, they got the small forward of the future in Toumani Camara. You want 3-and-D, he's giving it to you.
Right.
You want 3-and-D, Denny's going to give it to you, and he's only 24.
Right.
Like they have that part. So I'm not worried about that part.
and
You got to get scoring around guys like Klingon and Toumani, right? And you got to get scoring for Denny to pass to.
Right.
I'm not worried because I watch this team and I sit there. I'm like, oh my gosh. Toumani Camara is everything Portland has wanted in that position for the last decade.
Well, you think about, like, just to your point, Chris, because I love to play plug and play and different eras and all those things. Like, Denny Avdia, Toumani Camara. Let's just take one of them. Like, say, you're telling me right now, if you couldn't replace, and again, I hate for them to catch strays because they were solid, but, like, what if you put Toumani Camara and Denny Avdia in place of Mo Harkless, Al Farouk Aminu a couple years back, right? Does that not address all the deficiencies they brought to the table?
Yeah, I get what you're laying down.
So, that part is exciting. And we've talked about it too, Chris. There's finally a player on this team who is like, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to go and take on the opponent's best player and actually be good at it.
Yeah.
So, that's, having defense is great to see.
Sam says, "Am I still on the call?" No, Sam.
We love you, Sam.
I said thanks for the call. That was
We love you, bro.
Oh, we love you. I appreciate you. But I got this guy over here, and you see how hard it is to get a word in with this guy? If I have both of you on, man, I'm toasted.
So you're making me look bad in front of the boss now, Chris.
No, I'm not making you look bad at all. Poor Chad over there. He came over, he's like, Miami fans must have bookmarked all my tweets because I'm getting blasted tonight. I don't even know why. He's catching strays.
Poor Chad.
Hey, words of wisdom from a very renowned national sports guy told us one day, never pick on a fan base. Say whatever you want about the team, but never pick on the fan base. Once you pick on the fan base, it's over. It's over. But it's like I said in game day, if there was one game I wanted to win this year, it was this one. Just so that we wouldn't get blasted on our social media accounts.
Yeah, makes sense.
Here we are. Sam says trade Grant for draft capital everywhere we go. Yeah, that makes sense. And I thought Han hit the nail on the head. It's something we've talked about before, Han. But they need a number one.
Yeah.
And that's what they're lacking right now. Because even on a team, like let's say for hypothetical, this team is now a playoff team, right? Ant's not a number one on a playoff team. Grant's not a number one on a playoff team. Shaden Sharp's not a number one on a playoff team right now, right? But those are your 3 best players. Ant is maybe, like, quite honestly, say you put him in a Oklahoma City, right? he's maybe your third go-to option, right? Offensively. I mean, we could go down the list. Just the point is they don't have that true number one. Hahn also points out Shea needs handles, and that's for sure. Shea, I said this before, Hahn. Shea every once in a while when he puts the ball on the floor, he's got a little Al-Farouq Aminu to him. Right? Like dribbled it off your own ankle. But the thing that gets me excited still about him is you've seen deficiencies from year one get improved in year two.
Right.
You've seen stuff from the beginning of the season he improves on. He has that Kobe MJ back down mid-range turnaround, right? Where you watch him take it, you're like, wonder where he learned that. Now, if he gets to where he can just shoot with a little more confidence, because there was even times today where Denny got the ball to him out there for three, and he hesitated, and then he just waited and tried to go slow. Just take the ball and shoot it, and you'll be fine. Elijah says Chris doesn't want Nate Bjorkgren as coach. It's not that I don't want him. It's just that I'm not taking fool's gold. And what I mean by that is, do I think he's a decent coach? Probably. I thought Brendan made some very good points about him getting the short end of the stick in Indiana.
He did. COVID year, and still won, I think, 30-some games.
Yeah,
so,
he did. But at the same time, when I say not taking fool's gold,
totally,
is I can't take a coach going in for 2 games and just say, he's the guy.
No.
There's so many external factors. Do I think that if they like what they saw and they truly think he should be the guy, then if the offseason comes and they do their full round of interviews, then he should absolutely get a chance to go through that interview process.
It is worth noting, Chris, that has happened in the NBA before, even with the Portland Trailblazers, where, you talk about an assistant who eventually just gets his shot, right? I think of Rick Adelman. I think of, obviously, other situations in the NBA where the guy kind of steps away and maybe that assistant is a little bit better. And I get where that comes from the fans being like, okay, there were a couple games they played better. Small sample size, and Bjorkgren has a very small, coaching tenure, just the 1 year, as I mentioned. And I don't know. I think when Portland addresses that question in the offseason, Chris, I think they're going to have to zag when everyone else zigs, kind of a thing. Like, Portland needs something, I think, just something new and fresh. And not to say that I don't think Bjorkgren is that, but I think it would be a clean house type thing with the staff, if I were to guess at the end of the season. Just a guess.
We'll see what happens. I'm not out on Bjorkgren. Chris chimes in. He could see him as interim. Yeah, I mean, but I just feel like the interim thing is sailed. Like, unless again, this is just purely spitballing. Unless you go into like an all-star break, right? And you're like, okay, you know what? We had a little bit of a break. Let's come back clean and end the year clean. But just gut tells me they're riding this wave out with Chauncey for the rest of the game. But man, shout out to the chat. You guys have been absolutely awesome tonight. You deserve all the cookies and all the desserts when you get home. But that's going to do it. No Freebird tonight. We're keeping with the Island tunes. Add him to your playlist, Shacker. He was phenomenal. Gone way too early. But he was a Hawaiian legend, my man. Thank you, Brendan, for taking the time to come up here.
Oh, man.
If you get any more shows or days where you're doing stats, you're more than welcome to come up here.
Appreciate you.
Until Chad tells you can't because we run too long and he's trying to get out of here. But we'll be back at it. Blazers get back in action on Tuesday. Get a few nights off. I'll have Courtside Monday for you. So remember, Monday on Rip City Radio from 6 to 7 will be Courtside Monday. I'll have a special guest for that. That's a tease. You're going to want to tune in. Blazers will be back at it, though, on Tuesday, 7 o'clock tip against the Brooklyn Nets. I'll have Blazers game day for you starting at 5 o'clock. Chad will have the Blazers pregame show across the Trailblazers audio network at 6, and then tip-off right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. For Air Weldon and Elijah and Kirk and now Dennis and Han and everyone in the chat, you guys have been phenomenal. Thank you so much. Brendan, you're awesome. Aloha to all of you. Mahalo for joining me. I loved a little Hawaiian Heritage Night. You guys have been awesome. Shaka bra. Shaka bra. Also a great episode of South Park, by the way. Go watch it. So good. We'll see you on Tuesday. You guys have been awesome. We will talk to you later.